Welcome to another episode of Business Fumble. I am so thankful that you guys are tuning in, and today's episode is going to be a doozy. Today we have a real estate agent on, and without further ado, we're going to allow her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me here, Ms. Sheila.
Yes.
I am super excited to share my story, to share what I do. I am Joy McJoy, Las Vegas Realtor and Property Management Manager. And what I do is help people create a lifestyle through real estate. That's whether they're buying, selling, renting, investing, or need property management. I can help you create your lifestyle. I've been in real estate for over 8 years, and I'm a native of Las Vegas, so I know a lot. And more importantly, my business is self-service. So I focus on you, and I help you obtain your lifestyle.
Wow. Hey, we all need that. We all need that, but I want to jump right into it. First, what inspired you to go into real estate?
Honey, it was the billboard. All right. Let me tell you guys what really inspired me to get into real estate. So in 2016, I was working for Opportunity Village, which is a nonprofit organization. And one of my younger brothers, I have 8 brothers, but one of my younger brothers was telling me that he started a business in heating, AC, and conditioning. And I was like, what? You started a business? How you just start a business? So my background is I'm one of 12 children. My mom raised us by herself. She's a phenomenal mom. Let me put that out there before she called me. Okay. Like, what you done my business for? She's a phenomenal mother, but we didn't have the financial information. Domestically, she's a beast. Yeah. Clean house. She kept us fed, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in between, 3-course meals, 4 course meals. Like,
girl,
phenomenal.
We gotta talk.
But I'm serious.
My mom too.
That extra stuff she didn't know, but I know my mom gave me 100% of what she knew. She didn't withhold anything. So my brother's telling me that he started a business in HVAC, and I'm like, how you start a business? We can start a business? Well, I want to start a business. So that was the first thing that inspired me, my brother. And I remember just talking to God. I'm like, God, I'm super excited. I really want to start a business, but I didn't know what to start, where to go, or anything. And I remember driving, because I was living on the west side in 89106 zip code.
Oh my gosh.
All right. And I was like going home, and I was passing Martin Luther King in the 95. And like, I'm talking to God. I'm like, God, I really want to start a business, and I just don't know where to start. Can you just help me? On Martin Luther King in 95, I looked to my left, and I kid you not, it was a guy with a suit holding his tie, and it said, become a realtor.
Oh, wow.
Like 2 to 3 weeks later, I was a realtor. I didn't know what, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, well. So it was my brother who inspired me, and me asking God to guide me in the billboard answering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's what you meant by the billboard. I was like, what billboard?
It was the billboard, the guy with the tie saying become a realtor. In like 2 to 3 weeks, I was in real estate. I had no idea what to do, but I was there. I was licensed. I went with my brokerage. It was Eagle Invokers, I think, the first time. And I left really soon because they weren't really answering the questions that I needed, and they didn't provide enough training.
Okay, yeah. Was it easy to get it, or did it require a lot of,
So
studying?
innately, I'm a scholar, innately, right? I love to teach, I love to learn. So it wasn't a challenge at all for me to go get the information and learn to apply it to pass the test.
Yeah.
So when I was in school, they were talking about how difficult it was, how one person took the test like 22 times. I'm like, how can you take the test 22 times and not pass? So I go to take my test, and I'm thinking like, well, maybe it's really difficult. I end up taking the broker's test because it's like only 6 questions more than the standard. And I passed it. I'm like, what? How did he take this test 22 times, and not pass it? I'm like, okay. And then I went back to get my property management permit. And you have to take a course, and you have to pass the test too. And I'm like, why are people complaining about these tests? They're so easy. Maybe I should start a tutoring session.
Yeah.
Because I passed both of them with.
Because I know a couple of people that tried and they didn't pass it.
Okay, well, nothing to them.
I know.
Yeah.
If you're still trying to pass it, come over here. I can help you. I can help you. When I was in 12th grade, I tutored some of my friends to pass the proficiency test, and they did.
Yeah.
I know. It depends on if you're a good tester. A test taker. I when I was in college, one of my professors, they sort of like train you for your study habits. And when he trained me, I used that, and now it's spilled over into my life, and now I can't get rid of it. And that is when I'm focused on one thing, everything else around me, I don't know, I don't hear. And my whole family knows it. Like I can be talking to my mom, and she'll be talking, and she'll go, Sheila, what are you doing? I'm like, oh no, I'm not doing. Yes, you are. You're not here. Yeah. I know it. And here at work, like a situation happened, and it happened twice. And it was funny it was with Latrice.
Okay.
And she's like, hey, can I do this or whatever? And I'm working. And I said, yeah, and I'm working. So when she did it, Amber's like, what are you doing? And she says, oh, I asked, Sheila, she said that it was fine. And so she looked at her and she said, was she working on something? And she's like, yeah, I think so. And she was like, no, don't do this. This is all wrong. And so then after that, she says, when we ask you something, or when someone's talking to her, please tell her, stop, look at me before you respond. Yeah. And then make sure that she's listening to you. And that was a very bad thing because now it's spilled over, but it helped me to pass those tests because sitting for the CPA, sitting for the enrolled agent, those tests was hard. But that training helped me to get through it. So I think that a lot of people fail it because they're not good at studying. They think that they can just go through, they give you those practice questions, and they think that they can go through that and pass it and say, oh, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. It's not. I told them, like, the test that they give us in that course or class is not the same as the test that we take for the state, right? And it's more about the applied knowledge. They'll give you a big paragraph. It could be about four possibilities within that. So you have to be able to apply the information that you have and like withdraw the question that they're asking to get the right answer. So it's not like multiple choice. What is an encumbrance or easement? It's like they give you a scenario. And there's an encumbrance in there and there's an easement, but you need to know exactly what question they're talking about. Yeah. What question they're asking. Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of times people fail the test. But being in real estate, I was so excited to have you here because so many people, they have a misconception of what, real estate is and if they're able to purchase. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people will tell you there's not programs out there. You got to have this 20%. You got to have this credit score. I want you to talk about what what you really have to do in order to qualify for that house. And you know what? I want you to address too how people are changing their taxes and doing all of this stuff in order to get in the house. But then after they get in the house, they can't afford it.
I would definitely address that. So for one, let me just tell you guys, I'm a realtor, not a lender. So I will give you basic information on what you need to even start. But if you want to know exactly what you need or your financial fitness for the journey of home buying, you definitely need to connect with a lender. But at minimum, you need a credit score of 580. And that's 580
that's a
FHA.
minimum for sure, yeah.
Wait a minute, why is it 580? I thought it was 6 something.
Yeah, it's 640 for conventional, 580 for FHA. So you could go as low as 580. Just keep in mind, it may require more of a down payment, maybe a higher interest rate or something like that.
That's like the absolute minimum.
Yeah, that's the minimum that they could do. 580 with a credit score. 580 credit score with FHA.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, which one is better?
It depends on what you're looking at, your financial assets, right, or your financial fitness. Right, so if it's FHA or conventional, yeah. So FHA, they have more guidelines, like when it comes to the condition of the home. You got to have smoke detectors, you got to have water straps for your heater, and all this other stuff. And conventional is a little bit more flexible, but it does require a higher credit score. When it comes to conventional, you have the opportunity to have a lower down payment. So with conventional, you can go as low as 3%.
Oh, okay.
3% down. So you don't need 20% down to purchase a home. You can actually purchase a home with about 3% down.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Are you required to put down 20% if it's an FHA?
Yeah, no, you're not.
Oh,
FHA
okay.
is 3.5%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's not that bad. Yeah,
I never heard that.
No, I knew there was little rules about FHA. There's also little things about like it can't be a second home that you're purchasing for like an FHA. Like it has to be like a home you're living in.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
primary home,
that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of like little stipulations.
So
on
what
it.
if you buy the FHA and then you're living in it and then eventually you move and start renting it out? You can't do that.
You can rent it out.
Okay.
But you have to stay in the home for at least a year before you move to rent it out.
Oh,
so
okay. And what if you don't? What they gonna do?
Well, as a professional, I say, hey, as a professional, let me tell you guys, I do not condone anything that is going to be against whatever you sign on your mortgage. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, listen, I have to play devil's advocate.
It's true. No, it's good to talk about.
Yeah, she hits me on my tippy toes, make sure I'm giving the right advice.
Yes.
But get me off camera.
And see, that's what I'm talking about. Now, what about, this right here is so important to discuss because,
I didn't finish your second question.
Okay, yes.
About how people finagle their taxes or make things look better just to get into the home. Yeah. I would advise you not to because it could do more harm than good, right? When I'm sitting down consulting with my buyers and crafting a plan that works for them, my goal is if they plan to buy, I never want them to be mortgage poor because if you're mortgage poor, foreclosure will be your friend. Does that make sense?
Not really, not to me.
Okay, so if they're scraping by to pay their mortgage, one missed paycheck, right? One mishap could actually put them in alignment with a foreclosure. So you have to be financially fit in order to move forward comfortably. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, I kind of understand it as like if you're on this ball, just balancing ball, and every month you have a debt that's coming in. So if you're just barely making it, you're just barely balancing. You miss one payment, you're already on the backtrend. You're already starting to lean back, and it's just going to snowball and keep falling and get worse. Because if you were barely making the mortgage every month, and you missed 1 month, then you have 2 mortgages at least, not counting fees and everything to keep up with, and that will just pile on. You're just domino effect straight to a foreclosure.
Okay, so
so it's like you pick up one more bill that you didn't expect, and you're struggling.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
I never understood because I have a lot of clients and they come in and they say, oh, I'm trying to buy a house. And it's, like they want me to do their business taxes, but they always tell me to eliminate some of the expenses because they want more income to show. And when I'm doing it, I'm thinking like, I don't think you should do this because you're going to create a debt with the IRS in order for you to get the house. And so now you have the house note, but then you also have the note with the IRS because the more income you have on that business, and I've done it where some of what they owe to the IRS is $10,000-$20,000.
Yep.
Listen, that used to be my bill to the IRS every year. And I remember, me and my husband like, oh my God, we got to pay $10,000. And we didn't have money like that. We was, I had to split it up.
Yeah.
No, I'm being honest. I had to split that up in 3 and 4 payments. So I had to, really sit down because I'm in the financial industry. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. It's got to be a better way because I'm never going to be afraid to make money. And I advise anybody that has their business, don't ever be afraid. Don't ever cut your business off saying, oh, I'm going to have to pay taxes on that. There's something out there that you can do. So I just had a client that was going to buy a house and he told me to do the exact same thing. And I asked him, I said, do you trust me? And he said, yes, I do trust you. And I said, I don't think you should do this. I said, although your income, we got proof that that's your income. Your POS system shows that you make a lot of money, right? Some of the expenses that you were taking off, it was reasonable to take off. It was like his phone, different things like that. You can't take that off. But, I said, but there's a better way that we can do it. And he asked me, he said, how can we do it? I said, we can change your business to an S Corp. We're going to put you on payroll. And whatever the amount that you needed to buy the house, that's what your payroll will be. And I said, and I know that you're thinking, okay, that's too much because if I pay myself a payroll of 80 or 100,000, I'm paying a lot in taxes. But there's a way that you can do that. We can run your payroll, but run it as a cash payroll. So the only thing that's coming out of your business account is the taxes, but you still get that W-2 at the end of the year, and it's still an expense for the business. Therefore, you have a payroll, but you're putting it back in the business to grow the business even more. And he looked at me and he says, well, how is that going to work? Well, we do that till the end of the year, right? So then when you do your taxes, you have a W-2 of 85 to 100,000, but then you also have a K-1 of 30 or 40,000. Then when we do your taxes, you've already paid most of your taxes in there, and you don't have a high tax liability, right? Then when you apply for the house, they're going to ask for 2 years of taxes, but they're going to pay attention more to that W-2. You have the income. That income is coming in, and it can cover your mortgage, what you're trying to get. And therefore, you're not going in having 2 debts. You only have that 1 debt. And he heard me out, and he says, okay, I'll think about it. And then he called me back, and he said, I told him I wasn't going to do it, and I'm going to do it your way. And he set everything up. We set the payroll up, and now he's on the right track, to get his house. And I told him, I said, if you want to live in a house now, there's nothing wrong with renting it right now.
Absolutely.
You rent it for a year. And then right when it's time for you to sign a new lease, guess what? You're going into your own house because and then it'll help you to see if you can afford it because that rent is going to be about what your mortgage is going to be.
Exactly.
And if you can be comfortable with that, as I tell my husband all the time, we're paying $2,500. And if we can pay that, we've been paying that for years.
Yeah,
I know she can afford
mortgage.
a house.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not really uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
Our issue is where we're going to end up.
Yeah, because you're stuck there for 30 years,
Yeah.
15 years.
Not really.
Depending on how
Not
you
really.
do it.
You could sell, you could rent it
You
out or
could,
whatever.
yeah,
So it just
true.
depends on if it's in alignment with what you want to do right now. That's what home buying comes down to.
What do you mean?
If it's in alignment with what you want to do right now. Like, not everybody have a desire to be a homeowner.
Yeah.
Right? And it's okay if you're a renter. I know people say, why would you pay somebody's mortgage? Why would you pay somebody else's mortgage? And it's like, well, maybe because I don't want a mortgage. Maybe I just like renting. Maybe I like moving every year and not having to worry about if I could get someone into my home or worry if I could get somebody to buy it.
Yeah.
Right? You just like moving. I met this older lady. She's like 74 and she wanted to buy a home. I met her at a dog park. And she was like, I really want to buy a condo, but she said, I think I might just be too old and I have no one to leave it to. So I don't even know what's the point of me buying.
Yeah.
And I said, you buy because it's something that you want, not who you can leave it to, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to go live in a new home, go live in a new home.
Mhm.
And that's just what it is. If it's in alignment with what you want to do, let's do it. If not, then don't do it. There's no pressure. There's no anything.
Yeah.
Right? If it's in alignment with what you want to do, let's craft a plan and let's execute it. Right? And you have to get with people that you trust. I ask all my clients if they trust me. Because if they trust me, it's easy for me to guide them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If they trust me, it's easy for me to pivot them from decisions or choices that may not benefit.
Mhm.
So it was great that you asked, do you trust me?
Mhm.
Right? It's more important than just sharing your opinion or advice. But you want to know first, before I share this advice or my opinion, do you trust
Trust me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you
That's what I
trust
asked.
that I
Yeah.
would care for you?
Yeah.
Do you trust that I'm going to guide you the right way? Then if all those are yeses, then you'll say yes to this.
Yeah. And I had another client. She did exactly what I said, and she came back and she thanked me.
Mhm.
She said, I didn't realize, she says, all of the things that you were telling me to do, I was frustrated.
Mhm.
You know, and she says, but when I went to buy my house, she was like, it was like so easy.
Mhm.
She was like, it was so easy because I had everything and I didn't have to change anything. Everything just went smoothly.
Mhm.
You know, and that's one thing that I'm learning, is that I want people to know how important it is. Like, you've made the point that you buy a house because that's what you want to do.
Mhm.
Number one. Number two, and I want you to talk a little bit more about that. People feel like they just can't afford to be in a house. And why is it that so many people feel like I can't afford it? It's just not something that I can do.
Well, of course, it comes down to your assets and your income, right? You have to have assets and income in order to buy. So if you're not making enough money, you have to figure out how to make more money, right? And then you also have to know how to manage your debt to income ratio, because you can make $100,000 a year, but if your debt to income ratio is 80%, you're
That's
not going to be
the
able to
problem I
qualify, right?
Yeah.
That's
You-
the problem I have, because I have student loans.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
my student loans is what, well, one person, we qualified for the house,
Mhm.
you know, and then I was told that, oh, you got a good credit history and it's strong, but your debt is high.
Mhm.
You know, like, people will give you things because you have a good history.
Uh-huh.
You know, like, you pay your bills, but you have that debt, and the only reason the debt is so high is because of my student loans,
Yeah.
which I'm working on.
Okay.
You know,
That's
because you know, I filter all of that stuff, and then I'm on, I don't know how many nonprofits. I'm on their board, and so I recently filled it out, and I got my credits girl
Okay.
from the government.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like,
What is it
almost, you know, you got to have 120 payments.
Okay.
You have to have 120 payments. So with me being on the board, they credit you those payments.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm at 90 something payments. So if I can get to 120, they wipe out all my
Yes,
student
we
loans.
should go
Really?
120.
Yeah.
Let's do
I'm
it.
at 90 something now. I think it was like 96.
Nice.
So my niece, she went to school for an attorney, so her debt was higher.
Yeah.
And what she did was she works for the state,
Mhm.
and they give you credits for working for the state,
Mhm.
because she's a judge now for the state in Illinois, and all of hers was wiped out because she did like 6 or 7 years,
That's crazy.
and so all of her student loans was wiped because she served
Yeah.
with them. So they paid for her
Schooling, her
schooling,
education.
but she gave all of her time to them.
Mhm.
So it's almost like they pay for her and they're using her,
Mhm.
and that's okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to work on that, and I'm just like, I just
You're almost there. 96
Yeah,
payments,
96.
120. If you
Yeah.
waited this long, you could wait some more
yeah,
payments.
and that's what I
Yeah.
said. I'm just gonna, you know, like,
And when the time is right, the time will be right. So it doesn't matter how much money you make. You have to have the money. You have to have the right debt to income ratio.
Yeah.
Right. You can make 35,000 a year or 50,000 a year and have the right debt to income ratio and be qualified for amount, but you just can't buy because there's nothing on the market in your price point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But what about people that they pay rent every single month and they're paying 17, 1800, but they don't really have assets, but it shows that they can afford to pay that mortgage because they're paying their rent, they're paying their lights, they're paying their gas, so they can pay that. They just don't have assets.
Well,
And they don't have many. They might have 1 or 2 credit cards or something like that.
Well, assets you can build, right?
Mhm.
You could save. When it comes to down payment assistance program, they have that. People who are in your family that want to see you become a homeowner, they can give the down payment. They can gift funds to you.
Oh, they can?
Yeah, you can receive gift for down payment.
I thought that they say you have to show that the money is in your account and where it came from.
Yeah, it's all about verifying. If I work and I'm giving my daughter $12,000, I'm not going to give her $12,000 in cash. I'm going to transfer $12,000 from my bank to her bank.
Why wouldn't you can't give her it in cash?
No, because you can't verify cash.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
you
has to be
need to verify
verified
nothing to
funds.
do so. Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so I could easily transfer from my bank to her bank, and they'll see, oh, she got a transfer from her mom,
Mhm.
right? That's verifiable. But if I give her $12,000 in cash, she can't verify it. She'll have to have it in the bank for about 60 days. It has to be seasoned before they can even consider using the cash.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know you had to hold on to it for 60 days.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep,
that's
it has to be seasoned. The money has to be seasoned if it's going to be cash.
Okay.
So
So
that's
if
why
people out there that wants to help a family member, they should, you know, like, sort of give them the money beforehand before they start looking, so that
they
the money
can.
is sitting
They
there.
can. If it's going to be cash, yeah, because it has to be seasoned. It has to be in the bank for at least 60 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is that just to show that this is like actual verified money? No one's coming after it. Like this is your money
Well,
kind of thing, or
the lenders are going to ask for 2 months of bank statement.
that kind of makes that's
They're
right.
gonna
They
ask
did-
for 2 months of
yeah.
Yeah, and that, they also tell you when you're in the process of buying, do not deposit cash into your accounts because you cannot verify it. And when they look at your bank statements, they're going to look at all the transactions. You know, they're going to look at the
Yeah.
cash, and if there's cash deposit, they're going to say, where did this come from?
wonder if it's like for me, I get cash and I can
Well,
show
you have
that.
a business, as long as you can show cash. But if a person's not a business owner and they're not writing receipts and invoices,
Okay.
So like so I work in a restaurant, and my primary
yeah, you
form of
get
payment
tips.
is tips.
Uh-huh.
I get paid in cash almost every night, and so most of my wages is just cash deposits into my account. However, I have been having the exact same job with that same LLC for 9 years. Would I still have an issue qualifying because it's mostly cash deposits, or
doesn't your company account for your tips?
they do a tip compliance?
Okay.
So there's a fixed tax rate on my hourly,
Yeah.
assumed on what I average make in tips. So I pay like they'll see that like so my W-2 says I make however many tens of thousands a year. That's close to what I make, but it could be very inaccurate. I could have had a very good 3 months and it didn't account for that surplus, and I could actually have more in my account than what was automatically assumed.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so how do you fix that? Do you have to let your employer know that you made more or what?
no. So the way tip compliance works is the employer has made a deal with the IRS.
Oh, okay.
The IRS
Follow.
chooses the rate. They look and they watch how much everyone's turning in for. I think you have to be open for at least a year, and then they look at all of the employees' wages and they go, okay, so a typical server makes yay amount. So we're gonna tax everyone as if they were making $25-30 an hour in tips because that was like the average. So if I have nights where I make $40-50 an hour, which happens, that surplus is mine. If I have nights where I make less, which just happens, I lose out. So I have an average.
It sounds like it balances out, though.
It balances out, but the thing is, the rate in some restaurants was determined years prior.
Yeah.
Inflation goes up,
Okay, I
so
understand.
rates don't change, but my wages did. So how do I prove that to a lender? Is that just like something we have to go over through paperwork? And
Yeah,
stuff
you'll
like
just have
that?
to go over through paperwork. Because
Okay.
people that are in the service industry are buying houses.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'm sure they have something or some way to serve that occupation. So
Yeah.
That's just
too-
because I'm also looking to buy a home actually sometime this year, and I'm like, how do I prove this? Is this something that would be a difficult process? for
no,
me?
it wouldn't be a difficult process.
Okay.
But if you're in the process of buying, you definitely have you ever bought before?
No, it would be the first time.
Definitely get a realtor on your team and a lender,
Yeah.
and they could prepare you for when you're ready to buy.
Okay.
They could do a pre-assessment of your financial fitness, tell you what you need to do to get to where you're at.
Okay.
And when you decide to move forward, now you're more empowered and confident that you can actually move forward and execute.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, by the way. That was very
At your
I'm a
restaurant.
realtor.
Yes.
If you don't have one.
Hey, at your restaurant, if they pay with a credit card, that is recorded, right?
That is recorded, but it's still so the way that you don't keep your individual tips. They're all lumped together. We all share. Everyone is tip pooled. So that's why the rate kind of gets very like averaged out
Oh.
because you can have a good night, but someone else has a low night. You really kind of make the same rate all the time because everyone's pooling together.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when I go out, I love my servers, and I just want them to have money. Even if I say this is your tip, they still have to put it in full.
Legally, if they have a tip pool, they sign an agreement saying yes.
Yes.
They have legally. They have to turn it.
That changes everything.
She's all
I-
depressed about it. She's like,
I cannot.
My servers don't get that great tip because they
So I'm not speaking for anyone. I turn in all of my tips, all of my cash, and everything like that. However, the cash is not reported, and
Right.
it is the tip pool is agreed upon by the people in the restaurant. There is a soft rule that if everyone agrees this person is allowed to take a little bit more on the tip pool, he got that cash himself. We are all saying he may take that home. He can take that home, and he has to just report that on his own. That's
Yes.
his thing. So if you want to leave a personal tip for a server, cash is better.
cash, yeah.
Cash is better.
Because I do that
Yeah.
for the people when I go get my nails because I know that they're set up. And the only way that tip pool is going to work is if they know that the tips are going to be high.
That's
Because
what it
I
is.
manage a lot of restaurants and none of those employees will go for that. They're like,
No.
no, I'm not doing no tip pool
Yeah.
because I know that I can go out there and I can do good service and I'm going to get a big tip because they know how to serve, they know how to treat you,
Yeah.
they know how to do all of that. So they are not going to share their tips.
No.
They're gonna be like,
But if you go to anywhere in like the Wynn, where I work, the Venetian, other like high end casinos, they love a tip pool because they can guarantee to their servers you're
Yeah.
always going to be pulling X amount every night,
Yes.
and we share everything. So it's kind of like honestly it's a safety net. You know that you're always going to at least make this much. Even if you have a bad night, you'll be okay. It does protect the people who are not as strong in the industry, and it hurts the people who are stronger. But it is also something you don't have to worry about anymore. And I would say that's one thing I love about my job. I don't always have to be 10 out of 10 on point every night. If I'm having a bad day and I don't feel like talking as much, I'm like, I can take it easy. I know my guys will pick up the slack for me. And we all do that for each other. That's good. There are people who will never pick up the slack, but it's
They're
fine.
like, I got a team.
Yeah, they're like, we're good. We in the industry, we call those people that like they would never make it if they were not a tip pool. No, we always say that like that guy who had his own section, he would not make it at all. But yeah, but that's a very big concern actually when it comes to housing for people. Obviously, yes, there's a ton of people in the service industry here in Las Vegas. We all wonder, we're like, yeah, we have to verify our funds, we have to do all this. Tip compliance is a very unique thing to like this city and service cities like this. So we're like, how do people like us qualify for homes? How do people like us qualify for lending when every night we get a different amount of tips?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
stuff like
it's all
that.
good. We got you. Get a realtor and a lender, and we'll guide you. It's so important to have the right team to support you and that you trust so that you can move forward confidently and say, no matter how many tips I make today, no matter how much I put into the account, I'm still going to be able to buy because I
Yeah.
spoke to my realtor and I spoke to my lender.
now would that change though with him not taxing tips?
The tips are still taxed.
No, but I'm saying Trump is changing that where the tips will not be taxable income.
That is a bridge we'll have to cross when that gets turned into effect.
I believe that too.
Because that's making the person's
Yes.
income a lot lower.
What I understand is technically speaking, you're still being taxed, but like an income tax, you're like a return, you're being like almost rebated after the fact. Like they look at how much you paid, they look at how much was tips that was actually of your income, and they reimburse you back what shouldn't have been taxed upon.
Oh, okay.
Something along those
So
lines.
that would be
Again,
good.
I'm
Definitely
speaking.
going to ask my lender.
Yes, I'm speaking completely loosely. I'm not 100% sure.
He's not a lender. You guys.
I-
He's
I'm not a tax
lender.
guy. I'm not a tax person. I'm not even up to price on what they're doing.
I hear the laws, but I have, when it comes to that situation,
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest. I have not checked it at all. You know, like I had someone reach out to me saying that, you know, and people, please just bear with me because it is so annoying when people are out there making money but don't want to pay their taxes. Like that is a part of
Make some money.
Yes.
Look, when I get my
You
tax
know?
bill, I'll be excited. I'm like, yes, I made some money.
Right.
Yes, send me that. I'm ready to full.
Didn't we talk about that like a week ago? Like that's like a receipt of what you've done. Like that is like
Yeah.
proof
Yeah,
of
but
what you made.
I get so many calls saying, "Oh, there's a new program that I can be forgiven for my tax debt, and it's called a Get Fresh or something like that." And it's like, okay, that's someone trying to sell you something for you to fill out, and then they're gonna give you this fee, and they're gonna say they're gonna wipe it out. Listen, with the IRS, you can be forgiven for your debt, and it's a offer, you know, because you can't afford to pay the debt. Okay, that's what it's called. And when you fill out those papers to get it done, they is asking you, what's your blood type? How often do you bleed? Okay? No, I'm being serious. How often do you bleed? Do you have a broken nail? Okay? What about your toenail color?
They're trying to disqualify you by
They
any means
are
necessary.
digging into your life. You have to pull all of your loan statements. You have to send them all of that. If you late, they want to know why you late. What kind of income do you have? And then you can't take your money and put it in your kid's name and think that they can't figure that out. You can't say, I can't afford to pay this debt, and you own a house.
Yeah,
Fool,
yeah.
you gotta sell that house.
Yeah.
And it irritates me when people are like that. Why don't you want to pay your bill?
Yeah.
You're saying, I'm tired of paying the IRS this payment, but then you want to go out there and you want to.
Yes.
It is one of my big, I'm telling you, I cannot stand people
There's
like
another
that.
podcast that I quote, like I follow and stuff like that. It's very popular. The guy's name's Caleb Hammer. It's just free plug for him, I guess. But he has people on. He tries to like give them a plan of how to handle their debt. And of course, it's all like very exaggerated situations. Like almost like Maury, but with debt. He screams at people. He like cusses at people about like, how did you get here? How did you do this? And he'll give them a plan and everything like that. And every single time, he'll be like, all right, so your car note is $1,200 a month because you took a $60,000 car on a 16% interest loan. He's like, which makes sense. You need to sell that car, take the loss, and get something better. And they're like, I can't do that. Is there a way I don't have to pay all these things though? Is there a way? And he's just like, what did you come on the show for?
for?
Yeah,
Right.
like it's
Absolutely.
insane the amount. Like I don't think debt's a bad thing. Like we're talking about buying homes. There's a healthy way to have debt and to do it and to make it work for you. But people don't know how to pay their bills, how to function, how to use it in a healthy way, or that if they buy something that they're gonna have to pay back later and probably a little bit higher than what the original price tag was.
absolutely.
They have no idea how that works.
And
like,
it's irritating. I swear,
we
it's
don't teach financial
irritating.
literacy at all.
They know they owe. They
Yeah,
just
they
don't wanna
know.
pay, and they choose to allocate their money or use it in different ways.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to taxes, I love paying my taxes. I'll tell you the truth. I'm like, yes, because I probably love paying it because I got the money to pay too. But I don't mind paying taxes. I just don't want to pay a penny more than what I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
I just don't want to
that's
pay a penny
fine.
more than I'm supposed to.
But
But
let me
it's
tell you-
okay. Let me go ahead and pay it.
But let me ask you this. See, this is the issue. Just like he just brought out. If you had debt and you was paying that debt, you're not gonna be like, oh, I just want to find a way where I don't have to pay that. You have to take responsibility. Do you think that I'm in the financial world and I haven't gotten to a situation where I've overexerted myself? I've been there. And I figure it out and I get it down and say, okay, I'm really good at saying, okay, how did I get here? And then I write it down how I got there. Then I get myself out of it and I make sure I ain't going back there again. Because now I done wrote it down and figured out how I'm going to get there. But you got so many people out there, oh, I don't want to pay no bill. Like, shut up.
You're going to have to pay a bill.
Right.
And the most important part is you get to choose what bill you pay.
Yeah.
You get to choose the bill you pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's like thrusting it on you like, here's a car bill.
Yeah.
Here's a $2,500 rent bill. Like
Yeah.
you literally get to choose the bills that you pay.
Yeah.
And you know what else? You have people out here, they want to get, and I have to say this, they want to get these fancy cars, right? They go on the lot, well, I'm going to give me a BMW. I'm going to give me a Mercedes. I'm going to give
Sheila,
me an
don't even get me
Infiniti.
started.
Right. But listen, and I have to say this. I want to break this down to people because you are not even thinking. I just recently purchased a car and we did it under the business,
Okay.
And the one thing that I told the car dealer is like, you guys can go back there. You can crunch the numbers. You can come back and tell me what I have to do. But I'm letting you know that when I drive it out the lot, it's going to be an asset and not a liability. So you figure that out. And if my, credit rating is not there, then you let me know because you're not going to get a sale. When I drive it off, it's an asset. Not a liability. I want to be able to sell this car and get back what I owe you and then have me a little bit,
Yeah.
So it took all day. It took all day.
They always do that too.
Yeah. It took all day but they made it happen. But people, you go out there, you get this car and I'm finna throw out some numbers. Okay. You see this little nice car that you want.
Well,
and let's say
we can
this
use the Genesis GV80 because that's what I want. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's $90,725.
Right. So
I already know the price.
90,000.
She's
right.
looking at it every day
Okay.
like,
I'm like
So we gonna do-
$90,725 cash.
Right.
I mean.
it's okay.
Okay. So you're going to buy that 90,000, right? You go in there, you might put down 20,000. Let's say you put down 20,000 on that. What you got left? You got
$70,725.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So now you have to finance it. You have to finance that 70,000, and they're gonna finance it and give you 6 years to pay it back.
Yeah.
Now your interest rate. Let's say the lowest interest rate is 6%. Let's calculate that.
Yeah. That's also a little. They're high right now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're high. I'm just throwing numbers out.
Yeah.
So 6%. I think now it's like 12 or 14%, right?
Depending
It's
on who,
pretty-
it depends on who.
it's
No,
pretty
no,
high.
It's high. No, not for everybody. I feel like I could get like 6, 7, but that's.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
had-
the minimum?
I have a 790,
Yeah.
800 credit score, and they'll
Yeah.
still hit me with a
With
6%.
6%.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and this is why, actually, not to pivot too far off, I think I mentioned this on the podcast. I know someone who is a lower position than me at work, makes half what I make, and he got a Jeep, $36,000. It was used. I was like, why are you buying a used $36,000 car? And he was like, oh, it's like, it's not that expensive. I was like, how much was the interest? 16 point something percent.
Yes.
And he put down like 2,000, not like like the minimum on it. And I was like, how much do you owe a month? He goes, oh, like 880. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Not
I said,
including the insurance.
that's what I said. I said, how much is your insurance? Because it's like, what's it called? Full coverage. It's a newer car.
Yeah.
You're 18 years old. So all of those things definitely go into it. He's like, oh yeah, it's like $250. I was like, you're telling me this thing costs you
$1,000?
$1,100 and you haven't put gas in it? It's a Jeep.
Oh, it's
This thing-
$1,100 because it's extra $880.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
the
Yeah.
insurance,
Yeah.
the car payment, and
fees
then
and whatever. Yeah, it's like it's $880 sitting on the lot. I'm sorry, $1,100 sitting on the lot every month. I was like, you have a rent for a car, and he was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, that car probably costs you with gas every month. You're spending at least $400 because that thing burns. I was
Burns
like,
a lot.
I was like, how often do you fill up? He's like every 4 or 5 days. I was like, you're filling
and he's
up.
18.
Yeah.
But I understand he's probably still with his parents.
Yes.
So
yes.
that, so
Yeah, because
that
he don't have no
matters.
bill.
No.
So that matters. I think when a person does not have, if you're staying at home
Yes.
with your parents, then a car is
you
your.
can do that. Yeah.
No. Let's go back to that situation because I know what you're going to say.
Uh-huh.
That Jeep, 36,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He financed it. He only
Yeah.
put 2 down.
Yeah.
So it took him to 34.
Yeah.
He financed the 34.
Yeah.
16%.
Yeah.
Now he has a debt. When you go on his credit, that is sitting there for like almost
6
double.
years. Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
it's almost double. So now on his credit report, it shows like 48,000,
Yeah.
58,000.
50, yeah.
The blue book value of that car is not even the 34 that he paid.
Yeah.
So look, he doesn't even have.
He was so far in the red. Compared to,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I always tell people, you got to know why he bought the car. Did he buy the car for it to be an asset, or he bought the car just because he wanted to? Right?
It was the
Nobody
latter.
should
It was
do
the
that.
latter.
But anybody
Well,
can.
some people.
People-
it is your money if you want to spend
Yes.
it, and you know that you're buying.
That's what I tell people. It does.
I
you
gotta
have
show
to
you
know
this
what
real
they
quick.
want.
This is the dumbest thing I've.
You have to know what they want, and we're always growing in stages. Sorry,
No, you
when
good.
I was 18, I wasn't thinking about liability, asset, but as I continue to live life, I have right. Like even telling you, like when I first started real estate was a job. It replaced the job that I had, and then as I continue in real estate, then it became a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it's a business now, I'm like, oh, I need to plan for retirement. I need to do this. I need to do that. But those steps were necessary for me to go from one job to creating a job for myself, and then realizing like, hey, I just created a job for myself. So how do I actually turn my real estate into a business? Right? But that's just part of life. That's ever changing, right? I tell my daughter's 20 years old right now, and she feel like she have to have everything together. And I say, baby girl, it took me this long to have everything together.
That's true.
And I don't have everything together.
Yeah.
Every day I'm growing. Every day I'm learning. Every day I'm becoming something new.
Your life
Somebody,
in it.
Yeah. That's what it
and
is.
I'm experiencing
Yes.
it, and I'm
Yeah.
creating it, right?
Yes.
At one point in time, I was so set on, I'll stay in the 89106 area because the rent is cheap.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how much money I made. At one point in time, I was paying $525 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Ooh.
Woo.
Can you show me that today?
And it's not there today, but I was living over there on J and Monroe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That
that's
sounds about right. That sounds about right.
$525.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I was going out to eat every day. My daughter and I used to go. Our bill was probably like $1,200 a month eating out.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to pay it on no rent.
Yeah, you're gonna pay it on
Right.
something you're gonna enjoy.
But you gonna pay it on
We was
something.
doing
Yeah.
all types of stuff.
Yes.
So I'm looking like, dang, we ate $1,300 worth of food this month. But it's just all about what you want.
Yeah.
Now, when I look back there, I was like, dang, okay, $525. I could have been wherever I wanted. But at that time, the most important part was making sure that I had a roof over my head. And if I ever lost my job, I was able to pay the $525.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And still live life without feeling the struggle.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
But see,
As I continue to live and I gained confidence that I will always be able to provide for myself, that changed.
okay, but we have sat here and we talk about it all the time about the financial literacy
Yes.
and that it's not there.
No, it's not.
My point is the reason why I'm bringing that up now because we have to stop that cycle. Because listen, I know so many people that did this all of their life. Someone that's very close to me, I'm not going to mention the name or whatever, had their own business, made the money, lived a good life. I'm talking about a good life, driving nice cars, okay? Going out to eat, doing all of that. And when she got to the age where she retired because nobody taught her, she can't stand up and do what she was doing before. And guess what? She didn't pay enough into her Social Security where she has to get disability instead of the Social Security, and the disability ain't but $990 a month. And that's what she got to live off. And she's old now. She can't stand up. She can't do all of that stuff. And it's because of the people not having the financial literacy. That's why it's so important to have you on here now, because so many people out there feel like they can't afford a house.
Yep. But I agree with what you're saying. However, if you give people the information and they know how to activate it when that time comes, they'll be fine. So my daughter is 20 and I tell her, like, honey, save and live life. I said, because she was like 18, and she was mad because I kept saying 20% of your paycheck goes into your savings. And she was like, why I always gotta save? Why I always gotta save? And I said, because if you want some Giuseppe shoes and you want to go on a cruise and you want to pay your power bill, it's not I could do this or that. It's I can do this and that and that and that and that.
But you trained her.
Yeah, but I told her, like, but I didn't know that I had to learn that. I had to learn it. I had to go through it, right? And I'm always revamping, like, the information. So my goal is to give her the information. I always tell her, you have this invisible backpack on your back. When you were with me, you didn't know it was there because I always was pulling out the tools and activating it. Now that you live by yourself, there's a backpack that must become visible. And there's tools in there. Not all the tools work. Your goal is to pull out the tools that don't work, discard them, and replace them with tools that work. So when
That's
you're
good.
ready
That is so
to
good.
activate certain stuff, it's in your tool bag and you don't have to start all over from scratch.
Yeah.
So you'll remember the conversation, and she's still saved to this day.
Yeah, but you prepared her. You did
but
a
nobody
great
gave
job.
it to me, and I had to learn it myself. When I first decided to go into real estate full time, baby, let me tell you, I look at it right now and I'm like, damn, that was a fucked up plan. You didn't have nobody that could support and trust. So in 2018, I was working at Opportunity Village, and that was I walked in one day and I was just like, January 7th is my last day here. And it was January 7th, 2019. And I was fully moving on faith. I was like, and I gave them like a 3-month notice that I was leaving. In fact, when January 7th came, nobody knew it was my last day. And it was a Monday.
Ooh.
They thought I was firing. They thought I was leaving on a Friday. And I'm like, no, it's a Monday. They was like, whose last day is ever on a Monday? I was like, that was just the day that was given to me. So in preparation for this, I know I'm going to quit my job. I know I'm going to trust God in my real estate journey. I paid off I depleted my whole savings account trying to pay off all my American Express cards, my Capital One, my Discover. only to realize like, what you finna live off of? Because you're not
Yeah.
making a paycheck. You're not getting a paycheck consistently. And because this was so new to me, it took me about 7 months to make my first commission after I quit. And all I did was pay
Oh,
off my
my
credit
goodness.
cards to put debt back onto my credit cards.
Yeah.
And then instead of like just maintaining the minimum due balance, I depleted all my savings account, paid off my credit cards only to put money back onto my
Your
credit
credit
card.
cards.
Yeah.
And then come September of 2019, I get my commission. And from September to the end, I think I made like $60,000 that year.
Ooh.
But them 7
That-
months, I was crying.
That's an anxious 7 months.
Yeah.
It was. I'm telling you, it was crying. I was in such angst. I was a little bit depressed. And my daughter, like, God is so good. My daughter was gone for 3 months, the whole entire summer. Like, one day she just woke up and she was like, Mom, I'm going to my grandma's house for a month, and then I'll be at my dad's house for a month, and then I might go back to my grandma's house for a month. And I was like, oh my gosh, God, I thank you that my daughter didn't even feel like what I was feeling. She didn't even know that I was low-key struggling and scared. But I've never had like my power turned off or bills or cars repossessed. So I really don't know how I was sustaining myself, honestly. But it wasn't no struggle. It was more so like me internally feeling like, did I make the right choice?
Yeah.
Right? Because I have no money coming in, but I have money going out. I'm swiping these credit cards and I still have these bills. You know what I'm saying? And there was a time where my sister paid my car note, like out of nowhere. She was like, I'm gonna pay your car note. I'm like, okay, come on through, God. And then one of my brothers was like, oh, I'm gonna pay your rent this month. I'm like, oh, okay, right? Like, okay. But it was just more so like internal turmoil I was in.
Yeah.
Thinking that maybe my daughter was feeling some type of effect, but she knew absolutely nothing about it. And like I tell her this now, she's like, what? I was like, girl, oh well, keep on with your life. Don't worry about me. Keep on with your life. Yeah, it was a rough time, but it's all because I didn't know how to transition from being a W-2 into a full-time entrepreneur, and I didn't have the support. I didn't have nobody I could trust that could actually guide me.
But that's true entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
They go through all of that.
Yeah.
And it's good that you're bringing it out, because people that's in it and people that's trying to get in it needs to understand this is not all roses.
No.
But it can be easier if you have a team of people that support you, that can mentor you and kind of prepare you.
And how do you think that they can build that team beforehand?
Research, right? Asking people, who do you trust, right? Finding the people that's in the field that you want to go in, or finding people that have started entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
And asking questions and really finding out if they're being honest with you. Like, I tell people, like, you come to me and ask me a question, I'm damn near naked. Right? And I'm gonna, like, I have no clothes on. Ask me. I'm so vulnerable. I have clothes on now, but in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm just saying.
Like,
No, I got it. I
I have on clothes now, but in my mind, when people come to me, I undress myself.
Okay.
So that I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So when they ask me, if they're asking me something and the information's on my elbow, I know it's there.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a dress covering it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm completely naked. Ask me anything. I could give you my advice. Right? And you could twerk it. You could utilize it for yourself. But if you trust me, you got to know that any advice I give you don't benefit me, but solely benefit you.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I took my shoes off and put your shoes on my feet, and everything I experienced is what you experienced, better believe I'll take the same advice I gave you.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Better believe it.
But I feel like that's important to know too, that you do have to build a team. Nobody is successful without a team. I remember reading this book. I cannot remember the name of it, but the guy, he wanted to start a restaurant, and he went and he got a job as a busser. And he said, I got the job at the busser because the busser is able to look at the servers, the cooks, the everything. You get to see how everything goes, because you're just busting and you have a lot of time to watch how they do things, watch how they fail, watch what, didn't work, watch how they maneuvered and changed things. You see how the cooks, cook and people might have an allergic reaction, how they respond to that. And he was able to, he said that he did it for a couple of years and he learned. But when he opened his restaurant, it was successful because he chose to do that very thing, like you said.
Absolutely. So people that know me know that I do many things. And entrepreneurship is not just real estate for me. It's all about personal development and being able to experience life in different avenues of my life.
Yeah.
Right? So I've been a roofer for 2 weeks, right?
That's hard work. That's hard work.
No. Keep going.
I've been
Keep
a
going.
roofer for 2 weeks, right? I'm talking about knocking on doors, seeing if I can climb on somebody's roof to give them some type of estimate or see if I can help them replace it.
Yeah.
I've worked at Taco Bell for a month and a half.
Not easy.
Come on.
Love it. Let me tell you. Freaking loved it, right? Because it gave me a different perspective of we all do things on a different scale, but we do it on our way, right?
Yeah.
And I love to remember that I am here to serve, right? So it doesn't matter if I've been in positions where I've made $250 a month and like $40,000 a month. I love the $40,000 a month for sure, for sure. Okay, I love the $40,000.
Yeah.
But the $250 taught me that it doesn't matter how much or how little, you could still have the joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could still experience life.
That's why your
You
name
could-
Joy. Huh?
Like I'm telling you, like it could still be so beautiful. And I sit here when I first had my kid and got into my place. I lived in Charmin Garden, which is the projects, and I was.
Where's
paying,
that at?
It's on Owens and J.
Oh, I didn't know they had a
Over-
project here.
Oh, girl, yes they do over
What?
there, 89106.
I
Yeah, I was
didn't
about
know.
to say. I was like, you never been
didn't
over
know.
there. I was,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like maybe 20 years old, living in the projects. And then one day, and I was paying $50 a month. Okay, so that $250, I had $200 left to save. All right? I'm just saying, like, people look at me and be like, you never struggle. Like, I never struggled, but I definitely have experienced life on every avenue.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just about experiencing. But when you look at me, all those experiences bring about this divine Joy McJoy.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't matter about your experience. It's like what you take from it, how you cultivate it, how you create it, right? How you create those experiences into this one physical body.
Yeah.
And so I was paying $50 a month over there, and then one day I just woke up and said, this ain't for me.
And you moved.
And I went into the office and I gave them my 30-day notice, and they said, are you sure you want to give this? I was like, yeah, this just not for me. And she's like, where are you going? I was like, I don't know. So if you cannot tell, my life is full of faith. Childish, stupid, silly faith.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm like, damn, where am I go afterwards? Right? Like, and then I went across the street. So this is Jay and Owens.
yeah.
And across the street was a low housing income place, right? And I was like, well, let me see what they got over there. Went over there. They had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath for $525 a month. And I'm like, dang, $525, that's a lot. I was like, that's a lot. And this was years ago. My daughter was probably like 3. She's 20 now. I'm like, that's a lot. But I was like, I think I could do it. I was like, can I do it? And at the time I had a boyfriend. And I was like, and I was working at Kohl's.
Yeah.
Because I love to be at my daughter's school. You would have thought I was a teacher. I want to take her there. I want to sit in class with her. I want to do all kinds of stuff. Right? I just want to be the PTA mama, the mom that all the students know. Hi, Miss McJoy. Hey, baby. The teacher aide, all that other stuff. But I told my boyfriend, I was like, I'm going to move. If you want to be my boyfriend, you got to pay my rent. And he was like, okay. So I moved across the street in the 89106 zip code. And from there, I just kept on moving. But so I made $250. right, at one point in time, but I also made 40,000. It's all about how you experience life,
Yeah.
right? And you just keep on going from the projects. I moved across the street to the other side of 89106, and then I moved to Centennial, then I moved to, but with each move, it was an elevated version of me.
Yeah.
Right? Collaboration or collective of all my past experiences moving forward to see what the future had, right?
Yeah.
And it just moved from there to there. So when you meet me and when you talk to me, let's get naked, baby.
Okay.
I'm serious. Let's get naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be exposed.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's get what do you want to know about me? Because I know in order for a person to be vulnerable, I have to be vulnerable with them.
Yeah.
In order for me to have them trust me, I have to trust them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? I have to lead by example. And people are always like, well, I can't trust your leadership. What if he don't know how to lead? Well, show him or show her.
Yeah.
Right? Even when you're a parent, you have to show your kid that they could trust you. And then they trust you.
Yeah.
Right? You've showed them that they could trust you because you've fed them, you've clothed them, you've bathed them, right? So now it's like without a shadow of a doubt that all of that is just the given.
Yeah.
That's what it's just normal.
Yeah.
I tell people, and not to cut, I know you want to say something. I tell people when they're like, oh, your kid is so spoiled or your kid is this, I'm like, that's just her normal, right? She's never had to worry about if she was going to eat or not. So why should she worry?
She
about
worried.
it?
Yeah.
Right? She
That's the point.
she
Yeah.
just expects for the power to turn on. Like, she didn't
Yeah.
know I had to pay a power bill till she was like 13, 14. I said, I got to go down to Nevada Power to pay a power bill. She said, what? You pay a power?
Yeah.
I said, baby, I pay for everything. I know you think it's free because it is. You're my plus one, baby. You're my plus one.
that's good,
But
yeah.
one day, you're going to have a plus one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to benefit from the lifestyle that you
You
choose.
choose. Yeah.
You're leading by example. You're showing her the standards that she should have in her own home when
Yeah.
she has her own. And she's like, these are basic.
Yeah.
You don't get to complain that you had to pay a power bill because did you ever hear me complain kind of thing? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's going to be good for her.
It's-
I was going to say earlier, that's a really good example of how you were stressed about like not having money coming in, but money was going out. And your daughter didn't know nothing. She was just like, no, I thought everything was good.
That's
and
good
everything like that.
parenting, though.
That's good parenting because you don't put
Yeah.
your problems on your kids and nothing like that.
Yeah,
But you
you-
know what? I
Yeah.
wanted to speak on when she was saying that she done all different types of jobs. And I was just like excited because I did the exact same thing. And it makes you well-rounded. And when you become an entrepreneur, you know how to deal with people in all different situations. Because one of the hardest jobs I ever done was being a buyer for a sales team. Sales people, everybody needs it right now. They need it yesterday.
Yeah.
So you had to develop this tough type of, exterior, like, dude, you're not going to get it tomorrow. You're going to get it because I have other commitments. And you're dealing with that type of personality and everybody coming at you saying, no, I need this yesterday. I need this or that. You develop that,
assertiveness. Like,
yeah,
okay, I understand what you need, but
Yeah.
I'll get this to you at this time.
at this time. Right.
If I don't give it to you at that time, hit me up then. But don't
And
hit
it-
me up before.
And it's important to have those jobs because in order for me to finish my master's, I had to quit my job that was paying me, 60, 70,000. I had to quit it and I had to work at Joe's Grab Shack.
Yeah.
In order, because the school that I went to didn't have a night program. They didn't have an online program. And it was the school was very expensive. It was a private school in Illinois. But I had to work for, the Craft Shack. And to me, I'm telling you, it was Joe's Crab Shack. It was the most funnest job in the world. I laughed so much. And I realized, I never got in trouble on any job that I had. But when I worked at Joe's Crab Shack, the manager was like, Sheila, can I see you in the back? And I was like, what did I do next time? Like, what did I do? Because you learn things about yourself. And I was saying things and doing things that as a server, you shouldn't do, because I had a bad day, like telling them, well, why did you come here if you couldn't afford to pay? And they're like, what?
Yeah. In the back right
Yeah,
now.
right.
Yeah.
I had one client, how you learn people. And because I was learning, I had one, people come in and they order all of this stuff. I just knew that they was trying to eat and dash.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't move.
Yeah.
I sat in the next seat. And he said, well, I want dessert. And I was like, you know you ain't going to eat that dessert. Because you ate all of that other food. And then he was like, well, I want the dessert. I asked another server, can you please go and
because you wasn't leaving him.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like,
she
can
was
you
the
go
CEO.
and can you go and put in his thing, so that no, I'm not moving. And the manager's like, she looking, I see you in the back. I was like, man, he gonna leave. And he did.
No way. In the
Yes,
middle
he
of it?
did.
No way.
He did. He left.
Everything okay?
Yeah. Can you go in and I'll be in there?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I'll get the door.
It's okay.
I'll be there in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it teaches you who you are. And I tell people, like, none of the stuff that I do is who I am. It's just what I do.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I will wash a car
Mm-hmm.
and wouldn't care nothing about it. And when I share this with my friends, they're like, oh, I wish I was that bold. Well, get inspired and do it.
Shoot,
Like, who
I'll flip
cares?
burgers. I don't care what it is.
At Taco Bell, I used to. so look, at Taco Bell, I had such a great time, right? First of all,
it was a lot of
takes
fun.
skill to actually make that food as fast as they do and issue it out. So I was on the cook line for like 2 days, and I was like, this ain't what I want. All right?
It's hard being cooked.
Yeah, I don't want this. Like, give me the headset. I'll take the orders. And when I tell you, within a month and a half, people would come, and I only worked Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Those were my hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. in the morning. And people would be like, I was waiting for you to come back. When do you work? I'm like, baby, it's a short window I'm working.
Okay.
Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 8 p.m.
Yeah.
to 12 a.m. And when I tell you, I used to leave with tips every day. And the people would be like, how are you getting the tips? I'm like, you just talk to them. You just love on them. You just make sure that their food is fresh. Mm-hmm. You make sure that you put napkins in the bag. Like, how could you give me food without napkins?
Simple
And the sauce.
Yeah.
How you gonna forget my sauce? I worked at Wendy's too. I was a whole hot mess. That's why me and you, we just hot messes, because that's how I was. And I was fun loving and would laugh. One time, my first tip at Joe's Craft Shack, the man gave me, because I just sat there and I talked to him and his wife and just laughing or whatever. He gave me a $800 tip.
I love it.
So when I got the tip and I looked at it, I went back and I was going to put it in, and I was like, this man done made a mistake. So I went back and I said, sir, I think you meant to put $8 and you put $800. Can you fix this? Because I can get in trouble. And then he said, no, that's your tip.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, really?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, that's your tip. So when I went back and I had to tell my manager, he gave me an $800 tip. The manager had to go over to the table. You gave her, and he said, yes, that's her tip.
Mm-hmm.
And I went home. I was like, oh, I'm going to make some money being a server. I'm going to make some money. But that was only that one time.
Yeah, no, you have,
$800. But you meet those people that really, like, I am an avid tipper. Mm-hmm. I love tipping people. But you have to serve me.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not saying, like, narcissistically serve me, right?
No.
But so I used to go to Denny's. And I think I probably was only going to Denny's to just tip this guy anyways, right? Because he was such a great server the first time I came, for like some pancakes, eggs, and like he knew exactly when he saw me, he would come and grab me. He'll put me in my special table. I don't even have to tell him anything.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, my bill like only $12. I'm like leaving $30.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I might not come
I'm a
back
good
for the
tipper
next.
too.
Yeah.
I love it because it shows like the appreciation, and also it encourages them to continue to treat you a certain way. Mm-hmm. And like they know, like when they're in your presence, they're going to enjoy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? He treated me good from the beginning. He didn't know I was a great tipper.
Yeah.
Right? But I just love genuine people who love their job, who's here to serve you, because that's what we come for. Mm-hmm. Right? So he's going to make sure everything is fresh, because I already, like the first time I'm like, I love everything fresh. I thank you for serving me. I really do appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And sometimes I tell a little white lie, like, I heard about you. Somebody said you serve so well, right? And you just butter them up, because when you butter them up, they're gonna butter you up.
Yeah.
It's true.
And it
And
makes
you know,
them, and
I'm
it
gonna
makes
say
them
this.
feel good.
And you tell me if I'm right, because
You-
I've worked in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
I am.
Do you know that in most cases, people don't want to serve Black people because they are the worst tippers? And the servers argue about it. Like when I work, they would be like, Sheila, that's your table. I was like, I ain't taking that table. You know, I'm not taking that table because, and it is sad, but I like served one table, and I promise you, I served the table. I did a good job. I was smiling, everything, gave them their drink. They left me $1.90. And it was a Black family.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this. I just really want to say this because I have some friends that are in the service industry, you know, servers, and they definitely disagree when I say tipping is a courtesy. It is not an expectation or a must. If they came in, because we don't ever know anybody's circumstances, right? When they sat down and ordered that food, they agreed to pay for whatever they ordered.
But not the tip.
They didn't agree to pay for the tip because the tip is a courtesy. A tip is a token of appreciation. A person can appreciate you, just don't have enough funds to appreciate you with, right?
But see, that's why you should know before you go there that that server, that's how they getting paid, because they're
Choose-
rate.
In some cities,
I'm
they-
gonna tell you this, and I've told my friend, get a different occupation.
I'm half and half on your side because I work in the service industry.
Yeah.
I agree. There is no automatic guarantee as a server that someone's going to tip you. And I have it. I work right off of the casino floor. People come in, these guys come in, and they're like, I just want a burger, I want fries, I want a beer, and I'm going to run back and I'm going to start gambling. And some of them don't tip because they're like, I came here just to get a quick bite, just to go. I don't get mad about that. That doesn't make me mad. I get families. I get grandma with her granddaughter, and she's like, I just wanted to take her out. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Then you got those people who are like, oh, yeah, we go out every night. We always go out. And then you give them the whole song and dance. They're like, can you pick a bottle for me? I'm like, I got you. There's 400 bottles on the list, but I'll find one that's perfect for you. You do all that. The bill is $800, and they don't leave a cent. That I don't agree with. There's like a difference of like, okay.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm not saying you have to give me 20% on $800 also. That's another thing. Sometimes I understand when they go like, I just wanted to tip him and I gave him like $40. Like,
That's why they're
good enough.
changing though.
Yes,
The restaurants
yeah.
are changing and forcing that tip.
They
Sometimes
are.
they are.
They
Gratuity?
They
Through the
can,
gratuity?
Yeah, that
the
gratuity. They are forcing it.
They
but-
are on big parties and stuff like that because it's difficult.
Oh,
to serve-
sometimes
yeah,
if it's
yeah.
more than 4 people, baby,
They do
it's
that.
already there.
Yeah,
It is very difficult, but I think people do not understand that you agree to work for this company and they agree to pay you.
I 100% agree
right?
with that. Yes.
If it does not pay you enough, leave.
Leave.
Because people are sometimes scraping money to go and just celebrate themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they don't have enough money to give you a tip. Or maybe they feel bad about giving you $2 tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And they're just like, well,
That's all I can
$2 is
afford.
not going to be good, so I just rather not tip them, right?
100%
Because I could leave you $2 and you still mad.
Yes.
But that's all I had. I gave 100% of what I have.
Yeah.
So if a person do not tip, I just say don't take it personal. Just continue to serve within your capacity.
Yes.
Right? Because you've already agreed to something. And sometimes people expect tips and they don't serve you well. Right? Because I've been to restaurants where I'm waiting and they're like, oh, I'm so understaffed. That's not my issue.
Yeah.
Right? But you still want me to tip you, but you're understaffed.
Yeah.
It took me 45 minutes to get my food and you still expecting a 20% tip. Right? Like, are you serious? Oh, it probably just died. You can just leave it alone. You can turn it off, actually. I went to a nail salon recently, like on Saturday. And I didn't go to my regular guy because I tell all my guys how I want it. Like, if you're going to do my nails, this is how I like it. If you can't do it, let me up.
Right.
I go and get my toes done. And I walk out with a $95 bill. I'm fine. Right? I'm willing to pay $120 for my toes. But I don't like paying $95 and I got to go home and fix my toes.
Oh,
Yup.
yeah,
Although
that's
I
right.
told you
Yup.
how to fix them.
Yep.
I shaped them while I'm in the chair. You reshaping them. You want me to you want me to tip you and I hate my toes? I got to go home and fix them because I was too lazy to do it myself in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But you're expecting a tip.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't provide the
Yes,
service. And I'm
yes.
coming
Yeah.
to a professional place where you're licensed.
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me you don't know how to make a square?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the problem. I think tipping is not a bad culture, especially if you're using it to communicate with a specific employee to take care of you. And they're going to do it. And you know that that's going to happen. You trust them.
Yes.
That's why you tip them. But if you are not happy with the product, you're not happy with the service, you are allowed to vote with your wallet and tell them, like, I'm not tipping on this.
Yeah, like
I agree with that. And I've been
I'm
told.
gonna pay for the bill for
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
because I sat down in that chair and I
Mhm.
agreed to whatever. Although I didn't know the price, I agreed to whatever that pedicure type was gonna cost, the gel on my toes, and whatever else. But how you served it and how you did it, I'm not gonna.
I had a terrible night, and
And
I
I'm
didn't.
a tipper.
I had a terrible
love
night.
tipping.
I didn't take it out personally on the guest, but I had a terrible night where everything I was ringing in, every dish I rang in, the kitchen just would not get right.
Yeah.
And they would send it wrong, or I put it because our place is a tapas place, so like food comes out as it's ready, kind of thing. So I'll tell them like, hey, this is an old couple. It's just two people. They want their salads to come at the same time, and then I'm gonna tell you when to do the steaks, and then send those at the same time. It's not that hard. They're so lazy sometimes. I finished steak 1. I'm just starting steak 2, actually. Just send out steak 1. And the husband's just eating without the wife, and the wife's just like, and they told me straight, they're like, this is nothing about you, but the way this restaurant runs, I don't agree with it. I'm not putting a tip on that. And I'm like, that's fine. And some people they take it personal. They're like, oh, they're hurting me. Actually, they're paying the restaurant what the restaurant's owed and everything like that, but they're hurting me. I was like, no. That tip actually shows up on reports, and they see a lower tip percentage going down, and the IRS sees that. Everybody be seeing that, and they're like, oh, you guys are not where you're supposed to be. It actually does hurt the restaurant eventually, and then they're going to leave a review and all that stuff. This is actually reflective on the restaurant, and I've been in the industry for 9 years. Tips come, tips go. If one person doesn't tip you, another person had a great night, they tip you extra.
Absolutely.
It happens.
That's how it works.
It gets covered. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. I really have never freaked out about that. And I know some people take it so seriously to the point where this is why I say be careful where you go in Miami. Nothing against Miami. My aunt's from Florida, so it's fine. But they put automatic 20% gratuity on everything.
Definitely in
over
South
there.
Beach. On
Yes.
South Beach, I'm like, I don't
And
even
the
drink.
servers, they go, what do you want? They go, what do you want? I'll have this. Okay. And they'll never talk to you for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And they get their 20%.
Yeah.
And they make sure they'll push it. They go, you want that steak? I'm like, no, I just want the chicken. No, you want that steak. It's like, no, I don't. The steak is $40 more. No, you want that steak. They're trying to up their tip average because they know it's automatic and stuff like. So they'll push the more expensive items, or they won't tell you. This is the dirtiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh, the chef has just put a new truffle. I don't know, just super expensive item as a special, and they won't tell you the price. They go like, but it's so good and everyone's having it tonight. You go, okay, and you get it, $120 for a truffle risotto, and they're like, yeah, and they're like, you didn't tell me that part. We ordered 2 of them, and they're like, yeah, sorry about that.
But it's failure on you.
Yeah, because
didn't
you should
ask.
ask
I
the
didn't ask.
price.
To
I didn't ask.
inquire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm an avid. I know what I want. You don't know me. How you know what I want?
Right.
Yes.
Oh.
I didn't fall for that. This was somebody
Yeah,
else.
I'm just saying, like, people are always like, you're going to love this.
Yeah.
You don't even know me.
Right.
Show me what it is, and I'll tell you if I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, just trust me.
No, I'm not. I don't
have
know you.
Never,
I don't know
ever,
you.
like,
Mm-hmm.
But we are out of time. We have went
been
over.
out of time.
We have went over.
We had a lot of fun.
Guys,
We had fun. We had fun.
You know, this is so much fun. But I want you to tell them how they can find you, your website, and different things, you know, in case they want to reach out to you to learn more about you or just use you as their real estate agent. Okay.
all right, y'all. Y'all can find me in the streets of Las Vegas, serving your real estate needs. Regardless of if you're looking to buy, sell, rent, or manage, I can help create the lifestyle that you desire. My business is center focus. You are my focus. All right. So I love to get personal. I love to know what you want and then keep you in alignment with it. Besides real estate services, I also just serve the community. I love to meet new people. I love to volunteer. I love to donate. I love to sponsor. So if you're interested in getting to know more about me or following me, My name is Joy McJoy, and you can find me on my Instagram at I am Joy McJoy. You can find me on Facebook at Joy McJoy, and then you can find me on TikTok at I am Joy McJoy. You can call me at 702-716-4138. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, I'm with Compass Realty and Management. We're located at 8880 West Sunset, 290. And I'm here for all of your real estate needs and just to naturally love on you.
Yeah, see everyone. And so, I'm going to end how I always end. If you are a business owner or, aspiring art entrepreneur and you want to sit on this couch, please hit us up so that we can make you our next guest. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, because we love you guys and we love giving you this information. And we want to hear your story because everybody's story has a lesson in it. Mm-hmm. And remember, a story, knowledge, education is nothing if it's not shared. So let's share.